Hey friends, let's talk. I don't really drink coffee, but I do like tea. My mug says Crazy Plant Lady. I have lots of plants. If you're interested, I'll give you an introduction to all of them sometime. I do sing to them, yes. I live in the Midwest, specifically Indiana, if you're wondering. And we have this store called Five Below that's really cute. Everything is $5 or less. And I got this mug there for $4. Are any of you watching Castle Rock on Hulu? Cause holy wow, what's going on? Okay, so I am gonna warn you off the bat. I did not make a script for this, so I apologize if it is extremely rambly and long. And the other warning / preface I want to start out with is I am one person with OCD, and my experiences are my own. So I don't speak for everyone who has OCD. It's a varying disease, and it has a lot of different presentations, and I can only speak for myself, so unless otherwise stated, this is all my own opinion and experience with mental illness. Oh, I did my eye makeup like this yesterday for the first time, and I am obsessed. Urban Decay Born to Run palette. If you would be interested in a tutorial, let me know. I would love to do that. So I figured I should probably start with a definition of OCD, I guess. OCD stands for obsessive-compulsive disorder. And the two basic components are obsessions and compulsions. So for a quick definition of obsessions and compulsions, I'm just going to read directly off of the International OCD Foundation's website for a sec. Obsessions are thoughts, images, or impulses that occur over and over again and feel outside of the person's control. Individuals with OCD do not want to have these thoughts and find them disturbing. I hear people say all the time, you can boss your brain. That doesn't really work for people with OCD because these thoughts are not like things that we're putting in our own heads. They're just happening, coming in against our will. Everyone has had an intrusive thought here or there, you know? I could drive my car into the median, could kick that dog across the room. Bad examples, but you know what I mean? We've all had those thoughts. And that, I think, is what makes OCD so hard to understand for people that don't have it, is that it's things that everyone experiences, but for people with OCD, we can't let those thoughts go. We can't recognize, oh, this is just a weird passing thought. This is not something I really believe, and move on. It gets stuck, and we spin and spin and spin until we're so upset by the thoughts that we start to think that it's true, that it's a real thing we believe or a real thing that we feel, and that there's some personality flaw or character defect within us that is causing this, that we're doing this to ourselves. And that's just not the truth. I feel like I'm not explaining this very well. It's hard. It's a hard thing to explain. It's a hard thing to understand if it's not something you haven't experienced. Some common obsessions are contamination, unwanted sexual thoughts, fear of losing control, religious obsessions, harming yourself or others, and an obsession with perfectionism. I have experienced pretty much all of those except the contamination, which is why a lot of people have a hard time believing that I actually have OCD, because it's not what it looks like on TV. So people with OCD have these intrusive thoughts, and they're very upsetting, and they cause us very high anxiety. And so to cope with this or relieve the anxiety that these thoughts give us brings us to the second part, which is the compulsions. The website defines compulsions as repetitive behaviors or thoughts that a person uses with the intention of neutralizing, counteracting, or making their obsessions go away. So, an example from my own life, one of the first obsessions that I ever had was a religious one. I was afraid that I was possessed by a demon or something, and that was why I had all of these disgusting, awful thoughts in my head and couldn't control them. And the way that I counteracted that, the compulsion, was I over and over and over again recited the Lord's Prayer, because I had heard somewhere in a TV show or something that if you were possessed by a demon, you couldn't say the Lord's Prayer and you couldn't say God's name and blah, 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 blah. So I would say the Lord's Prayer out loud or just in my head, or I would mouth it over and over and over again. And the anxiety would be relieved because, oh, obviously I'm not possessed by a demon because I can say the Lord's Prayer and I could say God's name. Until we got to the next minute and it was like, oh, well, that covered me for that time, but what about this moment right here? So I better make sure again. So you do it again, and then that you feel better for that moment. But then in the next moment, it starts over, and it's just, that's what's so distressing about it, and that people, I think, don't understand, is that it's a continuous thing. Like the compulsions that we develop to relieve the anxiety of our obsessions only last for a very short amount of time, and then it has to start over, or we're once again just like sitting in that anxiety and it's eating us up from inside. Some common compulsions are washing and cleaning, mental compulsions, checking, and repetition. My personal brand of OCD, if you'll call it that, is pure obsessive, nicknamed Pure O. So the ones that I have experienced the most are the mental compulsions, reviewing occurrences that have happened over and over and over again in my head. If I feel like something went wrong during the interaction, or I wished that I had said this. Also praying to prevent harm to myself or other people. Counting while performing tasks. Canceling or undoing. So like if you have a number that is bad or a thought that is bad, you have to cancel it out by using a number that is good, or thinking a thought that is good, or a word. Yes, there are good words and bad words, and good numbers and bad numbers. We can talk more about that in another video down the line if you're interested. Checking, an example from my own life. I was at a bonfire once and I could not remember if I shut my garage door. And I got so distressed by that thought, I didn't lock my garage door, that I couldn't think about anything else. I could not pay attention or focus on what anyone else was saying. I didn't absorb anything anyone else was saying. I couldn't speak. I just like shut down. And so I had to drive home and check and make sure that my garage door was closed, and then go back to the party. Rereading or rewriting. So I reread texts that I've sent, emails that I've sent over and over and over again, making sure that I didn't say anything wrong, making sure I didn't make any mistakes. Repeating body movements. So I have quite a few of those that I do to relieve anxiety. I twirl my hair pretty much constantly. If you know me in real life, you know that if my hair is down, I'm twirling it. Those curls that you saw in the first video, that's not because I curled my hair or because my hair is naturally curly. It's because I twirl it and I twist it constantly. I rock back and forth a lot, and I do this, I tap my thumb to my chin quite often. It is a new one that I've developed recently. I have a lot of nervous energy and it's all in my hands. So I'm constantly need to have my hands occupied doing something. I've been diagnosed with OCD for 10 years this coming November, and I had it for a few years even before it was diagnosed, and I'm still learning a lot about it. When I got diagnosed, there wasn't the awareness and openness about mental illness that there is now. Whew, God. This is really hard to explain. It's really hard to just sit about it and talk about it like it's a subject in a class. It's like so personal to me that like every like trying to explain it kind of feels fake. What makes OCD so hard to understand for people who don't have it is, number one, pretty much every media representation of OCD is completely inaccurate. And number two, it's a thing that everyone does. Everyone has these weird, upsetting, intrusive thoughts. Most people can just shove them aside and like understand and recognize and realize this is not something that I really think. This is not a thing I really feel. This is not who I am. This is not me. And move on. For people with OCD, it gets stuck and spins and spins and spins and spins and spins forever, to the point that we can't function. I have come a long way since I got diagnosed. I've been taking medication and I've been in therapy off and on over the past decade, and I feel like I have improved a lot, but I still struggle a lot. But when I first got diagnosed, I was in so much distress that I could not leave my house. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think of anything but these hideous, disgusting thoughts. And I got to the point where I was afraid of myself. I was afraid that I was going to hurt myself or hurt someone else. I was so afraid of hurting someone that I prayed to God to kill me if I was going to hurt someone else, because I would rather die than hurt someone. That's probably really hard to hear, but like that's the reality of it. And I've improved a lot. I can function most days, but not all the time. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Have I said enough? So this mental war that you've got going on inside of your head constantly affects your outside as much as your inside. It is very exhausting. I've been filming so long at this point that I don't even remember what I've said yet and what I haven't said. But I'm getting so tired. I've probably filmed 30 minutes of footage that I have to now go through and edit. And I probably have barely scratched the surface. I hope that you maybe understand OCD a little bit better. I didn't really get any questions from anyone, but it was suggested to me that maybe after I make a video sort of introducing people to OCD and explaining what it's all about, that maybe that will spark questions. I hope that I have at least given you a little bit more knowledge of OCD, so that maybe you understand what your friends and loved ones are going through a little bit better. I know I have barely scratched the surface, and there are a ton of smaller things that go into it. Those will be for future videos. If what I've said in this video sparks any more specific questions for you, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I feel like last time I was like caressing the comment section, like, sweet comments. Be so nice in the comments, please. Ask me questions. I obviously am kind of an open book, so whatever you want to know, I'll talk about it. I didn't put any of my social media here last time, so if you're interested, all of that's below. Thank you for watching this very disorganized, barely informative video. I'm excited to make more videos, not just about OCD, but also about other stuff that I'm interested in. And I thank you for watching and subscribing, and I will see you later.